So we move on to the Policing and Safer Neighbourhoods item, and we have Sergeant Norton and colleagues here this evening. Would you like to? That's right. If anybody new to the East Area Committee, we have quarterly reports from our Sector Sergeant, Sergeant Norton, about what's been sort of happening within the East Area police-wise, and we assist the police in setting some priorities for the next quarter forthcoming in light of patterns and evidence of work that's happened previously. Colin.
Okay. I think what I'll do first is just address that a question about the Mill Road parking. If you break that issue down, if a lorry is parked on any road or any vehicle for that matter, and it's causing an obstruction so much the police officer feels it's causing an obstruction, the first course of action is normally just ask it to move. You could ticket it, for example. If it doesn't move, you can report the driver for summons, which I think is what you were getting at, which is actually not just a £6 fine, it's going to court, and you can take it and the court can impose much bigger fines, which hurts. If the driver then still doesn't move it though, you can actually arrest the driver and move the lorry yourself. How I move the lorry, I'm not quite sure yet. Probably get another lorry driver. But yeah, so there is that. That is a sort of instant solution to that issue when you see it in front of you. But I think you'd have to look at the longer term issue, how you get your deliveries to Mill Road, which I think the council was going to. So yes, the police officer can do it, but that will, there's an awful lot of lorries on Mill Road and not many police officers. So long term, it'd have to be a further solution, but it can be done. It can be done in any instance. So that's that. Right. I think it's been a little bit longer than 3 months since I was last here because of the way the meetings have fallen. So one of the priorities was the supply of drugs in the East area. And as the Councillor Tom Wright said, criminals don't look at boundaries, wall boundaries. Often they don't really know where they are. And never is that truer than the next one. In the East, we continue to see London drug dealers coming up. And it's actually really helpful that they don't know where they are because they can't answer simple questions like what street is it, where are you staying, things like that. What address are you in? What road is this? And it really helps us. It is sometimes like catching fish in a barrel. It hasn't really changed. We see London drug dealers come up. They position themselves normally in vulnerable members of the community's houses. Often that starts with a simple supply of a couple of wraps of drugs for free, for the privilege of sitting in their house all night. The next day probably just a one wrap, and after that threats of violence. They will sit there, they will terrify people. So we launched Operation Hexham, which I think we stole from another force, and I know we've given it to other forces. It continues, it will continue. What that means is officers go regularly, several times a week, to addresses. We do the addresses on traffic light systems, the ones we think are really active. We go every few days, and amber, green, as such, slightly less. Officers, because we go so often to these addresses, we can spot things quite early on that stand out as wrong. Obviously, these are normally chaotic addresses. So if you see a shiny pair of trainers on the floor by the door, you genuinely know someone else is in that flat who shouldn't be. Little things like that, you spot what's different. And when we arrive at this address, if we see these things, we will go in, we will arrest the dealers or we'll just warrant the property. The idea is to try and help the people in the address rather than just arrest vulnerable members of the community. So we've done that. I can tell you about many stories we've done over the 6 months. We've done one this week and last week. It just continues. I'm not sure when the end is going to be, but we will continue to keep the pressure on. The good thing is, from the sort of feedback we see when we interrogate our phones, they know the cops are about, they know our tactics really, but they haven't worked out a different tactic. Just to give you an idea, I don't want to scare people, but some of the people we've arrested at these addresses, we've now had them convicted of murder in London, for crimes down there. These aren't quite nasty people. The good thing is, we don't have the violence in our city. We don't have a situation, I genuinely believe, because we keep on top of it, we don't have gang-on-gang violence. Okay, and that's unfortunately what a place like London do have. So they just come up, they don't want interaction with the public, they don't want interaction with the police, and as far as I'm aware, they're not causing problems. They're not committing crimes, they're not threatening people, other than the occupants of their house. So, yes, we carry on doing it. On addresses where we feel the occupant isn't working with us, the pressure is upped to a degree, because ultimately if they won't work with us, we can't allow the situation to continue. So we look with our housing partners. We've had a success a few months ago now in Budley Close, where we had a gentleman for a long time was having problems. We looked at the court as a solution. didn't really work. We decided it was too vulnerable. We've now got them in some sort of sheltered accommodation, and I think there's a new tenant now, I would imagine by now, and we haven't had any further problems. So we do look at partners, we do look at the long-term solution, and we do keep the pressure on. My recommendation, without doubt, is that's a very high risk to members of the East, some of the most vulnerable people. I suggest we keep that priority. So that's really, we work with the London gang units and stuff on that. So I would suggest keeping that. ASB in Petersfield Mill Road, well, we've had the public spaces protection order for a while now. We are still quite amazed and pleased with the high level of compliance. I think it's sort of been a bonus that we've seen out of that. We really thought we might have a few sort of arguments and have to, really look at the court and ticketing. Actually, we've had very little problems, but I would say it's most definitely working. I think if you ask most residents, it's far better than it ever has been, or in my memory, in the last sort of 5-6 years, and that continues to run. So obviously that does continue. There was some concerns that's been raised at a couple of meetings regarding how heavy-handed the police would be. Would they be looking at targeting a family having a picnic in certain areas? As far as I know, we haven't. We haven't had any complaints. I checked today. The police have definitely not received any complaints about sort of heavy-handed tactics, and I don't believe the council have had either. So it's working, it's going well, and it's continuing. Every morning, patrols across the city happening by the street life officers and PCSOs, just to sort of make sure everyone's all right. So as much welfare as enforcement, policing, and moving on. And ASB is falling in the area, and without doubt the PSPO is helping that. So that's not all ASB, obviously, but it is dramatically helping that. So I'd again suggest the PSPO will continue, and I suggest I'm happy to keep it as a priority if the council wants that. I don't mind if it goes, because we will continue to do street life patrols. The PSPO will continue. The last objective, I think, was a newer one. Was sort of speeding, antisocial cycling. And I'll make this clear before I go further. I will not get into the car versus cyclist debate, or vice versa. There are bad cyclists, there are good cyclists, there are bad drivers, there are good drivers. We will target both. We don't prioritise one group over the other. Yes, during the 6 months it's been, I think we've had the LIT campaign, which is lights instead of tickets, sort of educational. You stop a bike, it's got no lights, rather than just giving it a ticket. I think it used to be £30, I think it's gone up now. You just give them a £30 fine and they'd cycle off with no lights still, and the next day they still have no lights. Someone thought, well, why don't we give them an option to buy a set of lights? They buy a set of lights, they don't have to pay the fine, and that way they've got lights. It's continued. The difference, PCSOs can now do it. This year, they did it for the first time. I think there was a change in the legislation or the rules by the Chief Constable. It's brilliant, brilliant. I've got lots of PCSOs, and they can give out lots of these tickets. So I haven't got the actual numbers, but we gave out a lot, and it's very successful. And generally, it's quite well received by the person getting the ticket. The bike shops like it as well. Also, there's always bonuses as well. Sometimes we stop people when they've got stolen cycles, so that's nice. So that's that. Regarding sort of speeding vehicles, we do speed gun checks. The problem in the city with speed gun checks is you do one and you can be seen quite easily, and if you're any sort of fleet unit which have got radios such as taxis, other vehicles such as that, word gets around in minutes. So you find you catch the first one or two and then that's it. Speedwatch, which is a community-based group, it's been going in the rural villages for a long time, many years, is now in the city. There's several groups set up that they're expanding. The equipment I can see in my office actually today. Very simple, community group set up with a big display, says to your speed, you go past. If you're speeding, you get a letter, it goes out to the person and say, look, you were speeding this road, this is the speed limit. It's not enforceable, we don't take people to court for it, but the equipment's really, really good actually. It's far better than the speed gun. Because it's not evidential and it's much more radar focused. What we do find is in areas where we've done it, the speeding isn't as high as you think. Okay, but if speeding is identified in the area by the Speedwatch groups, we will then go out there with the speed gun as a rule. We don't use a speed van in the city. It's just it just doesn't work as well. There is anyone can volunteer to be a member of the Speedwatch. You get some training, you go out with a PCSO or PC and start with it. If anyone wants to come out, or I'll come and give them a demonstration of it, they can email me, or I will arrange for myself or someone to do that with you on any particular road in Cambridge. It's not a long-term thing. I intend to do it on Tennyson Road because I know we've got some problems on Tennyson Road and a few other roads in City, Coldham's Lane as well. We sometimes get some complaints, but we will be setting up. But anyone who wants to come out and see how it works, you can. I'm quite happy to do that. It's an ongoing thing. All officers will do it. We sometimes get complaints. A police car sat there while a cyclist went through a red light, or a car went through a red light, and they did nothing. Yes, that's true. Okay, but sometimes the officer's got someone else in the car, a prisoner. They can't always, there could be a million reasons. I apologise for that, but that is the fact of life. We do give out tickets. We do take people to court for the offences. So that, again, I'm happy to give that as a priority. It depends what we want to do. So those are the 3 priorities. And before we get to the statistics, just in case it preempts a couple of questions, the burglary statistic, they're up. Generally, it's not too bad, but burglary is up in the last 3 months. It's up by quite a lot. To explain why, some burglars come out of prison. It's that simple. It took us a little while, but we caught most of them. We've got some really good sentences, sort of 4 or 5 years recently. A lot of it's been in the press. And I can't tell you the number of burglaries this month so far, but I do know, and I think we've got a couple of days to go in a month, unless we have a big spike, this will be the best month for 12 months and the second best for the last 36 months. So it just shows you when they come out, it goes up. When we catch them, it goes back down. We are really having a massive push on burglary, and we have done over the last sort of few months, but unfortunately that's when the spike is, that's when we're trying to catch them. Once they're caught, it really does reduce. And just 1 or 2 people can be responsible for an awful lot of these burglaries. So, in case anyone's going to ask why we got a spike in burglaries, that is the answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Colin. There's a question from a lady in the audience first, which I've held back for this. So, Roxanne, do you want to ask your question, and then I'll let councillors.
Thank you. Can I just make one very quick comment on something that was raised before? I'm a Romsey resident, and the comment was made that road space in Romsey needs to be rationed. If that was the case, we would find there's space for pedestrians and cyclists, not just cars. So I just wanted to make that point, that we're not rationing it effectively at the moment. Anyway, I will now ask my question. I'm asking this in a personal capacity, but as the employee of the Cambridge Cycling Campaign, I've made sure they endorse my comments. As I said, I'm a resident in Romsey. I live on Ross Street. So thank you for your update. Cambridge Cycling Campaign most definitely supports the efforts of our local police when encouraging cyclists to use lights on their bikes. We also encourage the use of lights, and we continually remind our members the importance of doing so. However, I must query whether failure to use lights is truly antisocial and whether use of this label is appropriate, particularly in light of other antisocial behaviour that does not appear to be being acknowledged. According to the Cambridgeshire Police website, antisocial behaviour is defined as any aggressive, intimidating or destructive activity that damages or destroys another person's quality of life. So, I urge the Cambridgeshire Police to acknowledge and prioritise the very real and dangerous antisocial behaviour from people in cars before someone is killed or more people are seriously injured. It is a rare day that I and the other people who cycle in the Romsey area can cycle to and from home without encountering terrifying and life-threatening antisocial driver behaviour for which it is plainly obvious that very little is being done. It starts with the Mill Road Bridge. People on bikes are continually tailgated and dangerously overtaken by people in cars at high speeds and with little visibility. The danger is not only from the cars passing from behind. I've nearly been hit by cars heading towards me from the other side of the bridge who clearly have not had the visibility to pass safely. This then continues along the lengths of Mill Road, where people in cars overtake too close with insufficient space to complete their manoeuvre. Often they need to bail out of their overtaking manoeuvre due to oncoming traffic. This results in squashing the person on their bike onto the pavement. Of the drivers who cannot overtake, many choose to tailgate the person on the bike at close range and in a manner that feels threatening, and then they like to beep. From my experience, of those who do overtake, it would be less than 1 in 20 that I don't catch up with further up the road, or they wait to pass a lorry or a car blocking the road and the pavement, or they're waiting at the traffic signals. So this antisocial behaviour is actually of no benefit to the driver. I've been overtaken in this manner by all types of vehicles, including a fire truck and a police car. The terrifying experiences then continue on the side streets of Romsey. People are rat running through the streets of Romsey, tailgating people on bikes, beeping horns, even late at night, screaming abuse and bumping the back wheels of cycles who are potentially just stopped to give way at a side road. At one point, I have been so scared by a driver that I had to stop my bike and ask them to move back. The driver responded by getting out of the car and trying to punch my husband. On another occasion, I've been too scared to actually stop my bike and go to my home because of the abuse I've received by a driver, and I did not want them to know where I lived. Interestingly, contraflow cycling does not result in this level of antisocial hostility, perhaps because drivers can see my usually smiling face and they're reminded that I am a person. Just last week, a father on a bicycle with his son was hit by a person in a car on the Mill Road Bridge, who then left the scene of the collision. When police found this driver, the only consequence was stern words. While we don't know the details of this case, we can be sure that if drivers know the worst consequence they will suffer from antisocial, dangerous and bullying driving is stern words, what is there to discourage them? So, we would like to see the police making strong and public statements about safe driver behaviour and follow this up with enforcement for passing at a safe distance, not passing in dangerous, hazardous locations and with insufficient visibility, not tailgating cyclists, and please, no passing whatsoever on the Mill Road Bridge. Thank you.
Colin, can I'm inclined to take questions together on the basis that actually I don't want to give, well, there was a question at the beginning, but I don't wish to give paramount importance to one particular question over another, and there may be others, so I want you to take certainly the audience questions first and then respond in a package, if that's all right. Mr. Gawthrope.
Well, I'd actually like to endorse the comment made about Mill Road Bridge. I must be one of the few drivers that actually, I'm sorry to use this word, tailgate people going up Mill Road Bridge, because I refuse to cross the white line and put them in danger. And loads of people just make no effort at all. They just cross that solid white line as if it doesn't exist. I don't know if it needs repainting, but I too saw that report in the paper, and I have to say it was not a couple of years ago that Councillor Marchant Daisy was also knocked off her bike on Mill Road Bridge. Drivers do not respect that single white line that they shouldn't cross on the approach ramp. Anyway, that's not my question, sorry. My question relates actually to the Public Space Protection Order. I actually have to endorse what the officer has said about that, and all this nonsense about people being disturbed, having picnics on Petersfield, etc. It is just nonsense from Councillor Fitt and his cohorts, and I think that it's just been proven to be the case. But I am concerned, and this is my question, I am concerned about the play area behind the bathhouse, because the City Council is about to spend quite a large amount of money on that play area, but it is not in the Public Space Protection Order list. I did ask for it to be put in, but it was deemed not to be included, and it's a real problem. And after it's had £55,000 spent on it, it will be a terrible waste if it then just became populated by people drinking. So I wonder if perhaps the police would like to comment on the space behind the bathhouse, which I know is problematic, but perhaps councillors might care to consider if they can include it in the Public Spaces Protection Order when it comes up for renewal. Thank you.
I'll certainly cover that second part when we have a chance as councillors to speak. Any other members of the audience come to ask a specific question? Have you come to ask it or just come to you tonight, Mr. Garvin?
It's just an ongoing one that I raised before.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just my ongoing moan at cars which have illegally adapted engines which make them really, really, really loud. And I live on the main road on Cherrington Road, and it doesn't make sleeping easy. That's what I can say. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, in view of the fact there's probably going to be quite a few comments and probably a few questions from the councillors. Colin, if you want to address the questions thus far, right there, fresh in your head.
I'm going to go to yours because it's quickest to answer probably. Regarding cars, there are rules on that. If they're seen by police, they should be getting pulled over. There is traffic police who sort of do a lot more than that than others. If there's a particular time and date when you're noticing these, let us know. We do know when they do the car meets, we do bring in traffic police because ultimately they know the legislation a little bit better. There was tons of traffic law. So if there's a particular time, it's always 9 o'clock on a Thursday, email me and I'll see if I can get someone out for 10 to 9 on a Thursday. Okay. Right, as I said at the very beginning, I'm not getting into a car versus cyclist debate. I cycle, I use the bus, and I drive a car. When I cycle in Cambridge, sometimes I am scared because of car users. However, equally, I see cyclists do things which are idiotic and extremely dangerous.
You're starting the car versus...
No. I'm saying this is my answer, okay? Do the police take action? Yes.
No.
But that is your perception. The point is, we could debate all night. You know, you saw an offence of a car, someone else saw an offence of a cycle. I could debate all night. Can I ask, did you report any of the offences to Parkside Police Station?
So one of the...
No, that's a simple question. Because the reason I ask, if, say, there were lots of people reporting incidents, right, there was a bigger problem. You could say the police don't perceive the problem, but if no one reports it to police, you can't expect the police to investigate.
I'll give you the right to reply, Roxanne, but I just might
Okay.
trying to make this point.
So, yes, I agree, there's some very bad car drivers that scare people and intimidate and they shouldn't be on the road. I do agree with you, it's very scary, because in a car, actually, these days, you are quite well protected. Okay? On a bike, you almost have no protection. And I say that as a cyclist. Okay, so I agree with you, But I don't really know what you want me to say. The police will take action if they see offences. They do investigate it. We do prosecute car drivers. There are stats available. There is no debate, we do. Regarding the Mill Road Bridge, for example, if we see an offence, we will take action. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. I'm not in denial. It does happen. But I'm not sure what you want me to do. We will take action if we see the offence. If an offence is reported to us and we can get a prosecution out of it, we will. If we deem that is in the public interest, we do. I don't want to come across as anti-cyclist, but I'm not anti-car. All road users need to share the space. Okay, that is a fact. And that isn't going to go away. So we could get here and we could have this debate for hours and hours and hours. But you've got to say, what is going to improve it? One, road layout. I know there's lots of things in Cambridge about cycle paths. I come in by Huntingdon Road sometimes. That's a lovely, very, much safer. I like cycling down there. Okay, would I cycle down certain roads in Cambridge? No, I wouldn't. Okay, but that's my personal choice because I don't trust car drivers. I don't think the space is big enough for cyclists. That's my personal choice. If someone tries to attack me in a car, though, I would report it and I'd want it investigated. And if they can get a prosecution out of it, I support that. Okay. Regarding being antisocial, if I'm honest, I'm happy for the definition to, for us to look at the change in the name. I'm quite happy to say if everyone thinks that's the wrong how we phrase it or how we phrase an report is wrong, I'm happy with that. I don't have a problem with that. Is it antisocial? Again, I think we could be here all night. I would, as a car driver, driving at someone deliberately, yes, it's antisocial, but it's more than that. It's dangerous driving. It's life-threatening, isn't it? Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Hang on. I'm agreeing with you. I'm not anti you. But is it, as a car driver, someone jumps through a red traffic light in front of me and I hit them in my car, the chance of injury to me is nothing. But I'd say actually that's very upsetting. And that's, for me, is it antisocial? We could debate all night. I'm not too worried about the name. Okay, if we can think of a better name, let's do that. The point is, cars and bikes have got to share the space. Okay, if there's offences, report them. If you don't report them, you won't get the resources. Are they investigated? Yes. And regarding the incident on Mill Road, I don't know the details about that, and I don't. But I noticed you said you don't know the details as well. So I think it's a bit unfair for you to criticise without knowing the details, and I cannot respond because I also don't know the details. Yeah, so that is my answer. I can, okay, so I'm quite happy to take a response.
We don't answer Mr. Gawthrop's question as well, Colin.
So is it?
PSPO on the path player.
Right, for that, I can get some extra patrols done, especially with the PCSOs. I tell the street life officers that's sort of more the instant problem, and then I'll probably defer to the councillors for the PSPO. I'm not as clued up on the legislation, how easy it is to change on that.
I'll refer to that when I make a comment, Frank. I'll let Roxanne come back as a right to reply. I'm not going to let anybody else on that particular matter because it was definitely a question asked by Roxanne responded to by Colin. I know one or two attempted to join in, but that's not the point. Roxanne?
Thank you. My point about the word antisocial was that if we can use it for something like not using lights, we should be using it for what is truly antisocial behaviour. My second response to you is, you say that if you see an incident, you'll do something about it. Well, you're actually doing a blitz and a targeted program to get cyclists who aren't using lights, and I agree that's an appropriate thing to do. But if you can do a targeted program on a specific problem issue in a specific problem area, why can we not have a targeted program on this specific issue in a specific area? Because clearly that's what you think will make behaviours change. You asked me if I've reported an incident. The incident that I told you about where I was too scared to go to my house, I had actually just been at the police station for 2.5 hours. I was soaking wet after reporting an incident I'd already seen where a cyclist was hit by a car, dragged along the road, had severe facial fractures, and the car driver left the scene of the crime. I went to the police station to report that with a number of other witnesses, and I've never been with one other witness, and I have never been contacted about that. So that's just one incident where nothing was done, and he was dragged along the road, we had the number plate, the police went and arrested the driver, nothing happened. I didn't report this incident on the way home because, as with other incidents, when I've tried to report them, I'm told we're their witnesses. No, can't do anything about it. I've got the number plate, can't do anything about it. I've asked, well, I've got a camera on my bike that can film drivers that do this, will that work? No, because we can't tell how close the car is to your bike. Essentially, I've been told that nothing will be done unless a police officer observes that, or I have a number of witnesses to say what happened, which doesn't happen late at night. And you got to speak. So unless you actually do a targeted program and go out and actually make the effort, it could be for one day and you would get so many drivers doing this, then I just don't see how me reporting this is going to do anything, because nothing happens and you don't take my reports seriously.
Colin, I'll let you respond to Roxanne's points there, and I'll invite.
So again, I can't comment on your individual cases because I don't know the results, okay? But it's interesting you say nothing happened to the driver. Well, he was arrested, so something obviously has happened. A process has gone through, and a decision will be made. Again, I don't know what the decision was and for what reasons, but if a driver was arrested, I would say something has happened. I would say positive action was taken, an investigation was conducted, and according to you, nothing further was happened. That could be for a number of reasons, but I can't say what they are. So I disagree nothing happened because the driver was arrested. Regarding your camera, Cambridge have prosecuted people using, we call them head cams, or cycle cams, whatever you want to call them. Cambridge have prosecuted people for that, and very interestingly, you say, you know, nothing can happen from that. There was a case in the news this week, it wasn't in Cambridge, I think a person got 4 years for driving out a cyclist, and that was on head cam. So that can happen, and it does happen, and it does happen in Cambridge. If you present to me footage of a car driving deliberately at you, I will send that, because of the nature of the offence of dangerous driving, I will send that to CPS for decision on a charge. Okay? There are certain criteria, as always with a legal case, but so it does happen. As I said, yes, I commend you for reporting what you saw as a witness, and thank you for that, but and you haven't been contacted, I don't know why, I don't know if that's because you should have been or you shouldn't have been, I don't know what the aggrieved one is, again, I don't know the details. But you need to report it yourself. You need to report your instance as well, okay, because the police can't respond to that.
I've been advised there's no point by the police.
I'm advising you there is a point. Okay,
I'll start reporting
that's right.
every single one of them.
That's fine. What I will say is this. If you can bring in your head cam footage, that's excellent evidence. You can't take a case to court without evidence. It doesn't matter if it's cycling, driving, shoplifting, murder. Okay? You need evidence. So the more evidence you've got, brilliant. I'm quite happy for that. You know, if you can show me someone on a head cam driving at you, shouting, intimidating you, go for it. I can't go into details because the case is going to court. As a sergeant, I get to make decisions on cases. This week, I made a decision to charge a male who was driving his van up a road at a cyclist. He then shouted, intimidated at the cyclist, spat at the cyclist, you know, sort of squared up, really intimidating, but spat at her. And then I can't remember if he's about a witness or her as well. We actually went out, we took the swab of DNA off the victim's clothing, of the spit, and we identified him from that DNA, and we are taking him to court. Okay, we're charging him with assault for the spitting, and we're charging him for the public order matters for the squaring up to an intimidator. So to say we don't take action against cyclists, I personally authorise that charge. Okay, and I actually stayed on late to authorise it. Now, do Cambridgeshire Police get it right all the time? Of course we don't. all right, and I apologise for that, but we do take action, and it's unfair to generalise all. Right, the blitz you're talking about, are you talking about Mill Road Bridge blitz?
I think anywhere along Mill Road and some of those side streets, where
Okay.
particularly probably leading to the train station, you'll find it quite a lot.
I don't think I struggle to find offences in Cambridge. I don't. But again, I could find it from everyone. I'll do it. I'll do a date and we'll see what we get. But equally, when you say we only target, and when you indicate we do this light campaign, I know you agree with it, but we do target other road users. Traffic in particular, along with other units, they do have campaigns for drink drive. They do have tailgating campaigns. They do all sorts of campaigns. They do weight limits for lorries. We do it. Okay. I agree. As a cyclist, you're at high risk, and I know. As I said, I live in the real world, but that is fact. Okay. But so I'll do your blitz. I can't promise when, but I will do it in the next. I like to think in February.
Yep.
All right. Well, it's still dark. Yeah. Okay. I can't say fair enough. I hope that answers questions. I really.
Positive thing. If you do that, can we please make sure it gets in the press?
I'll guarantee you it gets in the press. I would suggest this will get in the press. All you've got to do is use cars, bikes, cyclists or swans, and and it will get in the press. Okay? I generally don't want to leave you with a feeling that we are anti-cyclists, because we're just not.
We don't think
Okay, but please don't group us all together.
We've had a good discussion on that particular aspect, but there are other important aspects to discuss. I'm sure some of the councillors wish to contribute as well. I had Councillor Smith to start with, and I've just made a mental note of the next 4, 5.
We're going to do some Christmas.
We will have a break after this.
I'll try and keep mine short at least. Well, my first
and I will put the health warning that we are here to assist in setting the priorities for the next quarter, not here to discuss everything and anything. We are here specifically to try and give a bit of direction to Colin's team in terms of the next quarter work. Yep.
Well, my first question was actually, could we please put a targeted patrol out on Mill Road Bridge? So I'm delighted you've already said you're going to do that. I think that's fantastic. I think part of the issue comes from the phrasing of this objective. You've already mentioned that you're happy to change it. I think where the problem comes is that we talk about vehicle speeding, antisocial cycling. So let's either talk about antisocial driving and cycling, or let's talk about issues such as vehicle speeding and cycling without lights. And then we have the balance, and I think that gives out a much clearer message that we're not targeting one side or the other. I think that will diffuse a lot of the concerns.
We could say dangerous driving and dangerous cycling, because cycling without lights at this time of the year is dangerous. Let's be honest. To all. I think it was Councillor Robertson next.
I was going to talk about the bathhouse. The proposals that were consulted on with the local community included making the area of the playground behind the bathhouse much more open, removing the sunken area which people could hide in, and making it a lot more safer. If we find that it is attracting drinkers, alcoholic drinkers, which once it's been done up, obviously we will take action to put a PSPO onto it. But we'll wait and see if the improvements in the facility that we're making help that assist in any way.
As I recall, and Councillor Herbert and members on strategy will probably know this more than me, PSPOs are evidence-based, so there has to be evidence of a problem before action can be taken. So actually, unfortunately, until a facility is opened and there is a problem, we cannot apply a PSPO order. It's an odd way of going about things, but clearly, democratically, it's probably the fairest way. Councillor Johnson.
Thank you, Chair. Before I give my question, I just want to thank Sergeant Norton and all of his colleagues for the sterling work they have done in making sure that our city is safe and under very difficult circumstances. And and thank you. He's done a great job in coming here tonight and listening, obviously, and responding to residents' views. My question is a very brief one about page 27 or page 7 of the report, where it refers to the police surgery on Riverside, which I think I helped set up with the ASB team and the police. Do you have, does Sergeant Norton have any feedback on that, and for example, were any leads taken up in respect of the drug dealing that was identified by people there?
Yes, I don't mean that, but yes. Actually it was. It was quite a sort of funny story. In short, we had a report, one of the addresses. We had a little look at it, a little sneaky look at it. We decided there was maybe something to do that. We went and warranted it. The gentleman threw the drugs out the window before we could get into the bedroom. He threw it into the drain pipe. This presented a small problem. I'm not the tallest person. Luckily, I carry an extendable ladder in my car, still not tall enough, so we got a garden rake, taped my colleague's iPhone to it, put it on record. I had the biggest selfie stick in the world, but with it. Videoed the drain pipe, brought the video down, watched it, and we'd see moss, drugs, moss. So I sent one of my colleagues, slightly taller than me, up, and we retrieved the drugs. So in short, yes, we got a drug dealer, we got drugs. There's also a number of minor issues, and some with the council sorted out as well, lighting, things like that. But yeah, it was positive actually.
Thank you. Councillor Gardis.
Thank you, Chair. My first point is I really welcome the targeting of the Mill Road Bridge. So it's really a point of reference as well, and I'm really glad to hear, Roxanne and Frank, that you're bringing this issue. So a quick point of information, it was brought to me quite a few months ago from a resident who had real concerns about the safety on the bridge, and I think any of us that live in Romsey, and if we're short of time, then at times I have cycled over the bridge, and you know it's terrifying. So the resident was saying it's an accident waiting to happen because cars aren't overtaking cyclists, and you're coming up to the because of the incline of it, there is a blind spot as well. And again, I think if we live there, we've all experienced this. Now, as a point of interest, I've been onto highways because the resident was wondering whether additional signage was required, or indeed are the markings adequate. I think you mentioned that you thought they might have rubbed away. So I've had an officer go and look at additional signage to be telling drivers not to be overtaking. Now, the comeback I had was that provision is adequate, and that cyclists should be using the adjacent cycling bridge, which is what's called a cycling. I came back to the officer and said, and in actual fact I had a chief highways officer come out and walk around Romsey, because actually that's not the only issue. So I thought I would let you know that actually, so he is going to re-look at that for me, and it's very interesting hearing this tonight, because I will be feeding that back to him for your information.
Thank you. Councillor Smart.
Thank you. I also would like to commend the police for what they're doing, particularly targeting helping vulnerable people to actually get their lives in order and not be pressurised by the London drug addicts. We've got enough. I'm sure we've got enough problems of our own without importing them from London, and the sooner they go back to London, or rather perhaps go elsewhere, which you seem to be in the process of assisting, which sounds like a good idea to me. When we come to the recommendations, I will certainly be wanting to support that. I'd support them all actually. I would, however, also like to say about the question of the speed cameras, and I think it would be a very good idea to continue the emphasis on speeding at this point, as the 20-mile-an-hour speed limit signs have just gone up. If we could have a blitz on it and get it into the heads, at least of the majority of residents, that the majority of the city is now a 20-mile-an-hour area, and it's only a few roads that aren't. If we could just get it into the majority of residents' heads, that would be a bonus for all of us. I mean, okay, I know I'm not expecting paradise. We're not going to convince everybody, and you know, the next time and some cyclists are they're not very sensible, jumping a red light and then complaining about getting in the way of a car is a bit sort of, you know. If a cyclist jumps a red light, they cannot expect to have the road to themselves. Sorry. but the road,
Don't jump red lights, ever.
no, so you shouldn't. And so should not a car. But an awful lot of cyclists, there are cyclists who do, and that is not a good thing, to put it mildly. Anyway, to go back to the speed watch thing, I think it would be this particular time to emphasise the new speed limits. I think it would be a very good idea to continue with that particular thing.
I made a note of that, Councillor Smart. Councillor Roberts?
Very quickly, just obviously like to thank the police officer for taking the time and explaining a whole range of things, and it's always quite enlightening. Just a very quick question. Obviously, amongst other things, in the city, we've seen a bit of an upsurge in the amount of graffiti and the amount of cleaning that the city council's having to do, not only across my own ward, but across the whole of East Area and a number of other wards and areas as well. If you please ask the officer could just give a quick update on sort of any ongoing situations or investigations that the police are doing.
Yeah, very short. Graffiti tends to work. Most people understand tags. People have tags. Some people just have their own tag. There is one particular person I'd like to catch at the moment with one tag. But if you look around the city, there's a tag. Often you see PW4 out, Parkway for life. If you Google it, it will tell you loads. Many people use it. Yeah, there's quite a few. Some people have individual ones. You know, if we can catch them, we will. They're quite hard to catch. Yeah, we will try. We are trying. There's one in particular who's going all around the city at the moment. We're after him. We have an idea who that may be as well. So hopefully we will catch them.
Councillor Walsh?
Thank you, Chair. A couple of minor things and then a comment about the recommendations. The first is, if it could be noted down as an action point, that I will pick up a briefing question about a traffic regulation order on pavement parking, because that was the second point. Sergeant Lorden dealt with the immediate issue of enforcement, but I will pick that up and maybe use some discussion later down the line. I'm also very glad to see that the PSPO is working, particularly given some of the tin hat donning nonsense that was, given out against this Orwellian, measure that might, stop, the middle classes having picnics. It's good to see that the needs of residents who use the park are being put ahead of the needs of people who behave antisocially. So I'm delighted to see that that's been so successful. Although the comments that Sergeant Lorden were making seem to imply that it didn't need to be a priority, although it is down in the papers. So I do wonder whether we can think of something more important, like perhaps the Mill Road Bridge, that may be something that should be prioritised instead of the PSPO, because as Sergeant Lorden says, we have all the infrastructure in place to deal with that. Two small things. The third one is part of the Tennyson Road traffic calming scheme is that we want we're interested in doing a speed watch scheme down there once it's all implemented. And if you have any information for the Residents Association, I'm sure we'd all be very grateful. I'm looking at them and hopefully they would agree. And just the final comment is, cyclists who cycle without light are antisocial. Simple as that.
Councillor Kavanagh? Perhaps sticking to the priorities setting, please.
Yeah, just want to emphasise the speed. Really special plea for Coleridge Road. It's long and it's straight, and there are drivers who are attempting to break the land speed record down there. Even though we've got 20-mile-an-hour signs, I think a certain amount of money would be generated by having a camera along there on a regular basis. And I would like to say, a special thanks to Colin and his team, and actually particularly our local PSCO is Mick Stribley. Very active, very good, very responsive. Keeps the drugs out of our patch, and many thanks. But that speed, it really does need addressing on Coleridge Road. Thanks.
Okay, I was hoping members might want to contribute and then we'd wrap up the priorities, but Councillor Robson.
On the priorities, I think that the speeding vehicles and cyclists through red lights should remain as priorities. I'm not sure that the PSPO I think it's doing the job we just needed. I'm not sure that should be a priority for the police at the moment. I think that could probably be weighted down a bit, and the other areas be given more time.
it's appropriate to make the point I was going to make. I think those of us with experience of the seasonal changes realise that actually as nights draw out and weather returns to a milder temperature, we do have often issues of more behaviour issues on Mill Road and other public places in our area. There is certainly an issue on a regular basis around the bus stop next opposite the St Barnabas Church, and those issues are monitored, I know, on a regular basis, but that does actually become a regular issue that needs to be addressed. And I think in light of success thus far, it may well be useful to retain it for another quarter anyway, in view of this sort of spring sort of period it's going to cover. I think everybody's had a chance to contribute, and I think we've had a fairly healthy discussion on all manner of topics, and there's also been an undertaking to address one or two of the points raised by the audience, which we are grateful for that positive response. In terms of our priorities before us, there's a recommendation to keep 2 of the 3, but actually Councillor Smart suggests we retain this issue of speed checks within the East area in view of the fact that the 20 mile per hour limits have been rolled out in certainly in policy and engineering terms, and it may well be that we make that sort of bed in properly and allow college team to monitor that. I think that seems a sensible suggestion. So if there's not any other priorities suggested, and haven't been, I don't think, within all the discussion, other than those 3, shall we agree those as continuing priorities for the next quarter? Yeah. Okay. In which case, good time to take a break, nearly 9 o'clock. Oh, sorry, Colin. Yeah. You want to come back on the point?
Just very quickly, Speed Watch. There's an email address. If you email it, the sort of recruitment evening on the 23rd of February at 6:30 at Parkside Police Station, and the address for Speed Watch is Cambridge Speed Watch altogether. That's Cambridge Speed Watch at CAMS .pnn, so it's Papa November dot police.uk. So it's Cambridge Speed Watch, all one word, at CAMS dot pnn.police.uk. The more, the merrier. Anyone who wants to get involved.
Okay. Thank you very much. Go on, Georgie. If you're very quick. And
well, I'd like to thank Colin and Mick and the rest of the police for what they've done in Budley Close, and the residents would like to thank you as well. And we have got a young couple in the flat now. They went in at Christmas time. We do appreciate what you've done.
Thank you, Georgie. Okay, we'll have a 10-minute break. We'll come back at 10 past. And still have one more substantive, 2 items still to cover.